and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there any additions or deletions?
Olivia Leffler being appointed as municipal costume for director. Elected for the October 8th.
Okay, thank you. Reports and presentations.
Right,
Superintendent's report.
sure, I will just share my screen here and we'll get going. So just to start off, a little brief snapshot of where we are with COVID in the district. You can see the blue bars are last year by month, the red bars are this year. Much different. We had 44 cases, students and staff in September versus 5 last year. So far, we've had 28 in October versus 5 of last year. So we'll see where this wave compares to last year, but obviously it's starting off much higher than we did last year. Where we are right now, just kind of a overall snapshot. So we've had 72 cases of COVID across the district. The largest percentage, 60 individuals, 60 students have been diagnosed with COVID so far. And if you look at that across grade levels, you can kind of see some patterns. Obviously, in the lower grades, 1 in kindergarten, 3 in first grade, 3 in second grade. We're starting to see a little bit of a bump in intermediate lately. That's led to some more quarantines in intermediate. But obviously, still, our 12th graders are leading the pack here. Most of those coming right after homecoming week. I wonder if there was a correlation. So our quarantines, this is something we met about today. We're meeting about, it seems like daily, ways to reduce our quarantines, because quarantines equal students out of class. In the same pattern that we experienced last year, we're seeing again this year. No school transmission. So we're following the Department of Health guidelines when the students, for example, in the cafeteria, are unmasked, obviously, to eat. If they're within 6 feet of a contagious individual, they must be quarantined for 10 days. That is from CDC down to New York State Department of Health to Niagara County Department of Health. Problem is that's resulting in us quarantining and sending a lot of students home. So we're doing everything we can. We put some plans in place today to hopefully reduce these quarantines in the coming days and weeks. But the reality is the reality. Right now, we have 52 kids at home on quarantine. That disturbs me. Obviously, we're concerned. We want to be very safe with this, make sure that if the student was around a contagious individual, that they're home and we're watching if they got COVID. But the reality is, we've quarantined about 123 students and 0 have turned up positive in that 10-day window of quarantine, which once again tells us the same thing that we had last year. We're masking most of the time. There is limited to no transmission at school. This is an effort that us as superintendents across Erie and Niagara County just wrote to the New York State Department of Health advocating for some alternative than knocking a kid out for 10 days? Can we implement a test to stay program? So a child, let's say, is a close contact of a contagious individual. Can we test that person for 10 days, but keep them coming to school and just make sure that they're negative? They're doing this in other states. Why can't we do it in New York State? Because the lost instructional time is hurting us, and it's hurting our students, especially those who have gaps in the last year and a half in reading and math. So our preference would be to implement some type of test to stay. Yes, identify the child as a close contact, but keep bringing them to school. As long as they're asymptomatic, keep bringing them to school and just test them periodically to make sure they contract COVID. Our numbers regionally, Mr. Cornell, Superintendent and Amber assembled, we quarantined over 2,000 students in Erie and Niagara County since the beginning of the school year. Every time one of those happened, the kids out for 10 days. 2% of those, only 2% of that over 2,000 number have come back positive in the next 10 days. So again, school is a safe place. There's a lot of supervision. It's not a place where transmission is happening on a large scale. We're not seeing outbreaks traced back to school. So again, think about that. Erie and Niagara County school districts, look at all that lost instructional time. Over 2,000 students quarantined, only 2% of those came back positive in the next 10 days. So we're urging New York State Department of Health, please give us an alternative. Please let us implement a test to stay, so those students stay in school and keep learning. Our attendance rate is something we keep an eye on. It's still under our 3-year average. That 3-year average did not include last year. So that's our 3-year average pre-COVID. But we have a lot of cases, we have a lot of quarantines, that affects our attendance rate. You can see every one of those numbers in red is below our 3-year average. That disturbs me. That makes us want to do something about it. A big piece of that attendance is quarantines. You know, when you have 60, 70 students out on quarantine, those are all absences. They're not in school getting the instruction where we know they learn best. So high school, thankfully, is trending up. You can see homecoming area, they're around 88%. It's when I have parents calling me saying, my daughter's freaked out because only half her class is there, right? We had so many cases and quarantines at that time that it is scary to individuals. But thankfully, they're coming back up to about 93.5%. So keeping an eye on this, but you can see now in the lower levels, we're starting to get more cases and more quarantines. Our overall numbers, a couple of additional stats that I've added. Here's where we are now. Our positivity rate, that's kind of almost a meaningless number. It's dependent on how many people are getting tested each week. Those number of daily cases over the course of a week per 100,000 residents in Niagara County. So 2 board meetings ago, we were at 133, which is in the red zone. Anytime you're over 100, you're in the red zone. For CDC, it was at 188 when we were here on 27th of September, and today it's at 232 on October 19th. That is seemed to be leveling out over the past week or two. Hopefully that's starting to trend down. There's been 7 new hospitalizations in Niagara County over the past week. Hasn't been any deaths. That number is less than 10. I don't think CDC goes below that. And just for everyone's knowledge, 68.1% of those eligible to be vaccinated in Niagara County have been vaccinated. Just a pitch for the PTA. My report will be posted afterwards. Any staff listening to this, any parents at home, those in attendance, if you haven't joined the PTA, it's super easy. Just click on that link, fill out the information, and PTA does a number of amazing things for our school district. So urging you to please support your local PTA. We do not have PTAs in each building. We have one for the entire campus. So we had a superintendent's conference day on October 8th. A lot of great things going on. We did do a flu shot clinic. I think Wegman said they administered over 100 flu shots to our staff. We had crisis prevention training. So this is training with difficult students, how to de-escalate a situation with students. Thankfully, we have a couple of trainers locally, Charity Burlingame, who's a counselor here, and Jenna Zubricki, who's a special education teacher. They are certified and they actually provide the training to our staff annually. So it's an amazing asset to have on campus. So they give their crisis prevention training with a number of staff, typically your self-contained teachers, where those behaviors might happen more frequently. District technology committee. Part of our stimulus funding, we will be putting clear touch panels in every classroom K to 12. So interactive whiteboard, but they've come a long way from the old smart boards. So we started some of that training. We're going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll be training some turnkey trainers who will then go out and be support for all of the teachers, because it's going to be a massive one-time kind of implementation of these boards. Department of Social Services provided a presentation, and we also had department meetings. Breaking it down by building, the high school did some equity and diversity training with their staff, and also their instructional support team events and department meetings, extracurriculars. In the middle school, equity and diversity as well. The Pause for Love program, is that where they bring the dogs? Yes. Okay. So that was going on. Man, I didn't get down there. But they're also rolling out a new science curriculum, Amplify, so they did some training with that. And also iReady, which is more of an intervention and assessment program for needy middle school students who are struggling with reading and math. And down in Fracano, they're in multi-year phase-in of a new English language arts, which encompasses reading, writing, speaking curriculum, which is funded something out classroom. And they focused on the guided reading, the shared reading and the phonics portion, that training, and had some great fun. So very productive day. Down in Fracano, I went down there this day. It was a blast. Wendellville, thank you, fire company, and even Shawnee Fire Company came in as well. And all of our K-2 classes came out. We got some fire prevention training. This is Ms. Schwab's class here. So thank you to these fire companies. Many of them were volunteers who came out on these days, and they go over everything with students. We had students on the ground, crawling out of a house. You know, when there's smoke in the house, get down, get low, and crawl out. They were having them do all of those things. It wasn't just, hey, look at this shiny red fire truck. They really took the time to teach these students about fire prevention and then what to do if there's ever a fire in the house. And no better place to start that with our youngest learners. This is a really very cool activity. This is Mrs. Fuqua in her kindergarten class. She did this great alphabet celebration activity where if you haven't read this book, you should. It's very fun. There was an old lady who swallowed the alphabet. Very funny book. I've read that a number of times. I'm 17-year-old, so not or K-2 here. But so great way to teach letter identification. She then reread the story while the students had to find the correct letters while she was reading the story to feed the old lady. She even dressed up as a character from the story. Quite looked like the old lady, but then the students actually made a sort of a puppet of the old lady, and then you can see they all have their random letters that they were practicing identifying. This is a great activity that you can do at home. Parent calls out a letter for a kindergarten student. They identify that letter and feed it into the old lady's mouth. So awesome activity, Mrs. Flukeloff. Thanks for sharing with that. This is Mrs. Russo's class. They're practicing their sight words using a sensory tape, one of our self-contained classes. And very cool addition to one of the Fracano walls. Thank you to D&T Graphics of Lockport for helping us out. This looks amazing down in Fracano. Their theme, be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and above all else, be kind to each other. Really looking at kind of making that a welcoming environment for our youngest learners when they walk into. So this is really cool with our Spark logo. Mrs. Lucci, we just had custodial support or appreciation week. So Mrs. Lucci, their class celebrated our custodial staff. We don't give them enough thanks. All those students made cards and got some treats for the custodial staff. You can see some of them up there in the corner. So that bag there says they gave a bunch of those. Thanks for making our school sparkle. And that is one of the most common compliments you get from parents coming in for sporting events, for other things, from other districts. Wow, I can't believe how clean your district is and how beautiful it is. And that's a direct tribute to our custodial staff and Dave Surzak and Shanti. Some field trips, getting back to normal, going to field trips out to Becker Farms, Ms. Bradley and Mrs. Mills' class. So some upcoming events. October 29th, a half day for students. We're going to be posting and maybe trying to live stream some of our Halloween pictures and parade. November 19th, first try restaurants. 24th, report cards will be going home. And then we'll follow that up with parent-teacher conferences in Fracano. We go over to the middle school. This young lady, we've talked a lot about her over the years. I can't imagine what we're going to be talking about her accomplishments in 10 years from now. Henrietta Rasmussen. There were 31 students from 17 different middle and high schools around Western New York who participated in this CS4HS showcasing competition that was at Buck State on June 5th. She finished second in the robotics competition, which is huge. Competition was part of an extracurricular activity with the UB Gifted Math Program, of which Henrietta attends. So congratulations, Henrietta. We've seen her over the years with her creations and the PTA reflections. She's always got a winner in there. And I'm pretty sure we saw her Inventathon probably for 3 years in a row while she was in there. Just brilliant student. 7th grade ELA students, their focus is on multimodal writing. So this is really unique task here, using visuals to create a quick write in a storyboard format that was eventually adapted those elements into their written work. So really doing some innovative things in the middle school and ELA. Start Point Middle School, focus on anti-bullying. So students wore blue on Monday, October 4th to participate in that World Anti-Bullying Day. So in homerooms, they wrote their name on a shoe, kind of pledged anti-bullying. Those are displayed in the lobby of the middle school. Middle school was also able to recognize 16 students in their Shining Stars program. How do you become a shining star? Well, you exemplify their character traits that they focus on: responsibility, empathy, respect, cooperation, and integrity. Focused on responsibility for September. That was the theme. So these students here in 6th and 7th and 8th grade, congratulations to them. They were presented with a certificate and lunch, and a letter went home to the parents recognizing this achievement. And they also have their photo displayed in the lobby for the entire month. So celebrating good behavior in the middle school. We had 6th grade students becoming social scientists. So in their social studies classes, they were examining ancient cave paintings found in France thousands of years ago. So they use kind of modern technology and tools to analyze these paintings, and kind of come up with a hypothesis about what were they trying to tell us with these cave paintings. So very cool activity for sixth grade social studies. In our web program, we love this program because it welcomes students into a building, and then it also ties our student leaders in the upper grade of the building as sort of peer mentors to students who are new to the building. So in middle school, it looks like eighth graders helping out sixth graders. So they have morning meetings every month. So this was an example of, I think the eighth graders gearing up for one of their morning meetings. The focus of this morning meeting was, so we have students leading the discussion with other students, eighth graders leading the discussion with sixth graders. This focus was on life skills organization and avoiding distractions. Step one, put the phone was probably on. But, we take it for granted, but the number of distractions these students have today are thousandfold from what we experienced when we were in school. So this is a great relevant topic for, and then you have, it's not just adults talking to them about, don't have your phone next to you when you're completing homework. It's their peers and their peers who have been successful in school. So web program is tremendous. Last but not least, it is School Board Recognition Week. So if you don't know, key work of school boards is to raise student achievement by creating that shared vision of the for the future of education, setting the direction of the school district to achieve high student performance, providing accountability, developing a budget that aligns district resources to improve achievement. That's a process that we kind of go through at a certain point in the year, but we're really, if you think about our discussions, going through it all year. What are our priorities and what are we allocating money to help improve student achievement and student wellness? And supporting a healthy school district culture in which to work and learn. So we know it's a thankless job at most times, but we got a little appreciation gift for you. We can hand them out. So in here, I'll rip apart this pockets. Maybe Mr. Zimmerman. So I have a nice little hat, Starpoint hat.
All right.
And some really cool gift card in there and really cool magnetic decals for your car.
Awesome.
Yes. Very cool.
Thank you.
So thank you, school board members, for all that you do. Happy School Board Appreciation Week. And that is my report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Croft. There are no special reports and presentations tonight, no administrative reports and presentations. Public forum. Anybody would like to stand up, state your name, address? Please do so at this time. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Briggs, and I'm at 6786 Bear Ridge Road. And I have to wear my glasses, so I can't see you with my glasses on, but I can see the paper. Just glad I have this. So there's just a couple things that I wanted to ask a couple questions for the board. And one, I just wanted to reiterate just in general, just because I have to say it, that a mandate is not a law. But as it relates to masks specifically, I did review and I have to look at it for the name of it, the Commissioner's Determination of Indoor Masking pursuant to 10 NYCRR 60 dated August 27th. And in there, it had 3 bullets that it made some generic statements having to do with masking. And it was the supporting evidence for it. And it was just 3 bullets, and it talked about an outbreak aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and it talked about a 70% decrease in risk of infection. And then the second bullet was a study from Thailand, and then experiencing a 70% reduction with wearing a mask in high-risk exposures, and then a study in China that demonstrated the mask used by patients within households of a reduction of 79%. And my question for the board is, just, there was not one reference in any of the documentation that I looked at here on, the newyork.gov, any of that, the education, different websites. And I could not find one reference to any study. These were just 3 bullets that were there. So just general question to the board is just that, did you ask when you received this mandate or edict that came down, which I understand it was an edict, it came down from the government, I get all that. But my question is just as board members for our children, did you request the scientific data, the supporting clinical evidence, any type of reference when making that decision for, abiding by the masking for our children? Just want to ask that of the board. I don't know if you're allowed to answer a question or if I just have to speak and then sit down and my turn's
We
over.
just speak this time.
Okay, so is there somewhere that it like gets reflected so that I could get an answer back on that? Like, how does that work for the school board? Because there has
Yeah,
to
we
be an
can-
open
We'll
dialogue.
take your question down. We can definitely get a response back to you. for sure.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So it was just that question, just curious. And I want to just point out that there's overwhelming scientific data that just demonstrates that universal masking is not effective. And, and I'm sure you've heard it over and over at people that come and speak just about the psychological, physical, and emotional harms of masking. But just all that being said, there's so much data, and I can provide you the links, I can provide you the studies on that spectrum of it. So that's the basis for my question to the board of asking, did you request on what says it's safe to do the long-term masking? And then a couple bullets, and then I have one additional question. Or actually 2 additional questions. But I do want to point out too, and you can research this on your own, not just take my word, but research it on your own, please. But there was a recent, scientific study that was performed of masks. It's really hard to do this on and off the glasses, but on masks after people had worn them, and including students were in there. And the results, just food for thought, just the results when they took the samples off the masks, they had, just to name a few, pneumonia, there were traces of tuberculosis, meningitis, food poisoning. I just wanted to point that out of testing the masks, dirty masks that people wear all day long. And I do think it's important also to point out that just on boxes of masks that, if you go and you start reading some of the fine print in the warnings, that there are actually warnings that'll say like, this product is not a respirator and it will not provide any protection against COVID-19, coronavirus, or other viruses or contaminants. And one other point, just Dr. Fauci, that he did a study or wrote a paper back in 2008 studying the Spanish flu epidemic. And him and his co-author that he authored the study with, that they actually concluded that most of the deaths that happened back in the pandemic of the Spanish flu were not related to the Spanish flu. They were actually deaths from bacterial pneumonia from wearing masks. So again, I just want to make sure my question's there, that requesting the evidence and what have you that you guys did. I guess my point is I just hope you did your homework as you're looking at the best of our children. And then the other part is in a previous board meeting that when we talked, this was back, and I know you guys remember because we had a ton of parents that were out here, and we were talking about, trying to get you to not do the masking. And, Dr. Croft obviously came up with this great presentation, before the edict came down. And within that, the comment that was made by a board member was, and he's not here tonight, but made the comment that, well, we can't lose our funding. If it is, if it comes down that we have to do it, we can't lose our funding. And so the question that I have is I researched funding that schools get across the states, and I looked at New York State specifically, and they've been allocated $9 billion just for the ARP, elementary and secondary emergency relief, so the ESSER funds for COVID. And so in following that money, I would like my question taken down. I'm curious to know how much money did Starpoint receive as part of the COVID relief? And what's published in Education Week, and that was September 10th of 2021, in there, if you click on Starpoint, it says for the total relief provided to Starpoint was $5,006,848, which is an estimated of $1,684.67 per student. And so I have two actually questions within here. One is, my high school student is not allowed to, so this is not related to the money piece, but in a part, I guess it is, but I guess I want to say it's not related to any of the masking. But my question is they're not allowed to go to their locker. They're allowed to go, the rules are, at least what they're told from their teachers, they can go in the morning and they can go at the end of the day. And I guess some kids maybe go and pick up their lunch or something like that. I weighed my daughter's backpack. She's been complaining of shoulder and back and what have you. I weighed my daughter's backpack because of the textbooks and the Chromebook that's in there. And this isn't, her lunchbox is separate, her phone is separate. Just the backpack alone was 17.8 pounds. And it might not seem like a big deal, but I tried to pick up the backpack. I cannot imagine wearing that throughout the halls and what have you. And so my question to the school board is why can't the kids use their lockers? I think that is, as a parent, that request, I think, needs to be looked at hard, because I think that's absolutely ridiculous. 17.8 pounds, and that's, I mean, just my child. I don't know about anybody else. Maybe they don't have that issue. And so my question is, if there's all this funding, so then are you going to be allocating some of that funding for doctor's appointments, for therapy, for things like that, when now you have a different negative impact to, not allowing kids to go to their lockers? So I'd like that taken down. And then my last question is, in there, obviously, you guys know this because it's in your documentation, that as part of this American Rescue Plan for ESSER, it talks about you have to have things like, that funds have to go towards intervention, response to students' academic, social, emotional needs. And so I'm just curious, how is that money being spent specifically for the younger students? Now, it doesn't impact me because I have 2 in college and 1 is a senior in high school, but for the younger children that have issues that they can't see your face, or they can't, for smiling and all those type of emotional things that happen. And also kids that the parents have made the decision to homeschool them. I remember at a school board meeting, a parent asked, my child has to be homeschooled now. How do I get them to be able to interact? And so my question is, are there funds allocated to some programs to help engage some of those students, but also programs for the younger children who really need to have that face and eye and smile contact and things like that? That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would, Ms. Grace, Mrs. Grace? Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Okay, moving on. So consensus agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? No correspondence, no reports of committees. No old business. New business. Resignations. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
All in favor? There's no leave of absences. Item 3, can I get a motion to accept that as a block?
Second.
All those in favor? Before approval of Niagara County Department of Health purchases of service contract.
So this is talk to this for a second. This is a contract, I've spoken about that we've been doing some work directly with the Niagara County Department of Health in terms of our Saturday testing clinic, as well as our forthcoming mobile testing lab that's done with Niagara County Department of Health. So this contract just kind of speaks to each district's partnership with them in this endeavor. So that's why it's on the agenda.
Okay. Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Item 5. Approval of the architectural agreement with Niagara County Community College. Can I get a motion to approve? All those in favor? Item 6, approval of the students' teachers. Anna Cromer, Halum Field, and Alexis Wazlowski. Can I get a motion to approve? Second. All those in favor? Item 7, authorization for the superintendent to sign education institution staffing agreement with Maxim Healthcare to provide healthcare services. Can I get a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That leads us on to public remarks and comments. Anybody would like to speak? Please step up to the mic. Okay. Board comments. Mr. Easter.
Thank you, the gift and the hat, obviously, this hat's pretty awesome, so I'm digging it already. As far as superintendent's report, fantastic, it's nice actually kind of seeing, thanks to the local volunteer firefighters who come out and teach the kids about fire safety. I think that's awesome, seeing the pictures about it, hearing your kids talk about it when they come home from school, because, I get the whole stop, drop, and roll thing, and I feel like, I might forget that if my kids weren't reminded like that. Although I hope to not be on fire someday, so hopefully it's just one of the things they get. Again, though, every time I see this stuff, I'm going to keep talking about it. I love the fact that we're teaching or working on leadership skills. The web program with the 8th graders, working with the 6th graders, peer-to-peer instruction, so powerful and helps develop like our young leaders, which is going to be a big component of things going forward. Also, the other big thing, I mean, it's nice to have 0 on-campus transmission as a goal, right? To keep working towards it. But the fact that we went through, excuse me, last school year, and then so far, even with the numbers being much higher than they were at this time last year, not really attributing any of those cases to being caught here at school. That just speaks to what we're doing, staying on top of it. Also, like Kimberly, nice job coming in. I thought it was respectful coming and talking about it. We don't necessarily always have to agree on everything. It's like I was just talking about, I'd rather have my kids in school and, whatever measures keep us there. And I'm really happy about the fact that it has been, that 0. I wasn't sure if we were still at 0. Love hearing that. I don't expect it to stay that way because that's a tough thing to pull off, but fantastic job, everybody. Thank you.
Ron.
Yes, the firefighters are always welcome here, and it's nice to see them educating our kids. It's nice to see that. Thank you for your input, the public. It's always something that we enjoy, hearing the public's input. It's nice to hear our constituents and what they're headed towards and what they're interested in, and it's good to hear that. And that's all I have.
So I want to say thank you for the report today. And I always look forward to the superintendent's report, seeing all the photos, seeing the Becker Farm, kids actually getting out again and having that chance to be kids was really kind of exciting. I remember my own children when they were, first, second grade going to Becker Farms is always an exciting time for them. They definitely look forward to it. I want to give kudos again to Henrietta Rasmussen. for the second place robotics. It's interesting. I have a connection to her. I coach her in swimming. And so I knew her when she was like this big. So it's really kind of cool to see her now like that big in 8th grade and getting second place at this huge competition. So I thought that was really neat. It's kudos to what StarPoint's doing by giving our kids those opportunities to even, participate in those events, because not every school district has the opportunity to even work with kids on the robotics and the technical, that STEM area. So it's really kind of a nice thing to see. Other than that, I hope that we can keep moving the way we are with, keeping things normal for our kids. And hopefully we can finish out the school year well.
I don't have much to add except for I love the custodial appreciation week, and that, teachers taking advantage of having the students acknowledge that, because I think so often those types of positions are overlooked and not acknowledged. And so to teach our kids that everybody's role in their community is important, we should appreciate that, I think is so significant. And I just have to say, I happened to be at Becker Farms when Mrs. Mills' class was there, and it was so great to see the kids just having a good time. And it reminded me of when my kids were that little. I was kind of happy that, I was usually the parent that was there too. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not there right now, but they were having a ball. So that's really great to see. That's all I have.
Okay. They said a lot what I was going to say. I do want to say for the Custodian Appreciation Week, they've done a great job the past year and a half, with everything that's going on with COVID, keeping everything clean. So I definitely think that plays a big role on why our numbers get to stay down. Also for the superintendent's report, I love seeing the Fracano sign, because I don't go down to Fracano anymore since I have a high schooler and middle schooler. So that sign is awesome. And I love the message that it brings to our students and the fire companies. Thank you so much for coming out. It's great to see that we're doing all those fun things with our students again, and having the community come in and join with that. That's about it.
First off, I got to make a correction. I apologize, but on K5, I couldn't say the word, but it's articulation is what I meant to say, not architectural. So my bad on that. So, but fire prevention, yeah, great to see the fire trucks. Thank you again to the fire department and everybody, all the volunteers out there that they come out and make that a special day for the students as well. Actually, I don't really have much other than that. Thank you for the kind gifts. Congratulations, all the board members as well. Thank you for your dedication and hard work and effort. Other than that, I'd like to call this meeting to adjourn. Motion? Okay, thank you.